Tonight, we're going down under to the country of Australia to meet James and Sarah Pedersen of the band JSP. Hey, what's up with the hat? Oh, okay. You want to be cool like James. Well, Poe, I hate to tell you this. I think it's going to take a whole lot more than just a fedora to increase your coolness factor. What? You don't agree with that? Hey, we'll be back in just a second after we sort through some wardrobe issues here in the studio with James and Sarah from JSP. So here we have James and Sarah Pedersen all the way on the other side of the world in the country of Australia. It's not just really a time difference. It's like almost a whole day difference where you're at. We're recording this right now on a Saturday afternoon in the United States, in my state, and in Australia, it is Sunday morning. So thank you for taking a Sunday morning to join us.
You're welcome. That's right.
You know, before we get into the music, before we get into JSP, I do have to ask one Australia question.
Definitely. Yep.
So here we go. This may end the interview right here. Well, back in the 80s, there were these guys known as Men at Work, and they taught me about this thing called a Vegemite sandwich. Is that still a thing in Australia, a Vegemite sandwich? And if it is, what is it?
Oh, yeah. Vegemite is huge. So Vegemite is like a sandwich spread that you put on bread and have.
Okay.
It has a very strong and different taste. And
strong.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in my family that eats it. So,
yeah.
Are you?
My kids and I can't even stand the smell of it.
So when I struggle to get them out of bed, I say, get the Vegemite out, and they're straight out of bed. So
acquired taste. And when we came over to America and recorded with Josiah Prince, we brought him some things from Australia to try, and one of them was Vegemite. But to this day, we still haven't heard anything back about the Vegemite. So it didn't go down so well.
He hasn't asked you to ship any to him so that he can just keep consuming some Vegemite sandwiches, huh?
The Vegemite. He wants Tim Tams. He loved Tim Tams. They're huge here in Australia, and he loved those. And said
what are those?
Like a chocolate biscuit.
They're a chocolate-coated biscuit. They're kind of like a rectangle shape, so kind of biscuit with like layered chocolate in the middle and then coated in chocolate in the outside. But it's kind of a trick that you do where you bite a little bit off both ends and you dip it in your hot drink, and you can actually like suck up your coffee or whatever through the biscuit, and then it kind of starts melting on the inside, and then you just devour the whole thing, and it's like, yeah, amazing.
That sounds like heaven in my mouth. Wow, that sounds really good. You know, all this talk of food, all this talk of food. There's my co-host, and I told him he can't eat while we have guests in the studio. He's munching on a sandwich right now, and I'm gonna have to talk to him a little bit later about that. And while he's eating, we'll go ahead and dive into the music of JSP and what's going on with you guys. This has been a very big year for you. I do have to ask this question. I love the fact that you're a husband and wife duo. You're really a power couple. So what came first for you guys? Was it the music, the romance, or was it the total package all at once?
So music is definitely what brought us together. So about 16 years ago, James had already started a band with a few other guys, and they were looking for a lead singer, and I auditioned and joined the band, and that's how we met. And yeah, literally like how many months later did we start dating?
That's about 3 months later we started dating, and 2 months later we're engaged, and 5 months later we're married. So
that's how you find your soulmate. You start a band and put an ad out in the paper and do auditions.
That's it.
Yeah. And, well, when I started the band, the other guys in the band said, you're not allowed to date her. So parts of that rule by just getting married. So.
Yeah, as I listen to your music, it's more than just music for music's sake. There's, my goodness, there's a lot of that in the world where it's just out there and it doesn't make much sense, but there's really a purpose behind what you're doing. Can you tell us what the purpose is behind the music of JSP?
So the fact that we're sitting here with an album fully recorded, we're still shocked. But essentially for us, it's really our testimony of God's healing and restoration in our life. And it was just really interesting that the process that we went through, pretty much when it was complete, how the doors just flung open for music, which we'll tell you a little bit later about the story of how we ended up recording with Josiah, which is quite an incredible story. But really our heart and passion is to reach particularly people who've been hurt in the Christian environment. We know there's an awful lot of them as well. And to also be real and honest about the struggles in the Christian faith. I think, for me, for a long period of time, there's this element of that you can't let people know there's something wrong in your life or you're going through struggles, because that would mean you're not a good Christian or you're weak. But you actually flip on the other side, come to realize that struggles are actually mentioned in the Bible. It's actually an essential part of our faith, of how God grows us and teaches us. And so essentially we're just, wanting to particularly reach out to people, particularly those who've been hurt, who might have walked out of the church and all that. God loves them. What you went through, you're not alone in what you went through. It's quite common. A lot of the issues that a lot of people face go through. But essentially, there's a God who loves them still. God's going after those sheep that have walked out the back door of the church or back door of the faith. He wants them to be restored and to find healing.
That's a theme that I'm finding more and more common in a lot of Christian music right now, and even secular music too. I'm hearing it is the desire for healing and the need for healing. And I think this is not just really a trend, but it's really the heart of God right now to see people healed. Why do you think that this is so important to God, especially at this point in time in human history, to see people healed and restored?
I think it is sad when you think about it. Like I've been a Christian my whole life and grown up in the church, and I've seen so many people walk away from the church, and God doesn't forget about those people. And, I think people want to have something that they can hear and they can relate to. And when they hear something personal, when you share an experience or something that you've been through, and a listener can hear that and go, oh, wow, that's exactly what I've been through, or that's exactly how I feel. And that sort of helps just validate their feelings and where they're at, and know that it's okay to not be okay, and that what they're going through is common, and that they're not, the only ones out there. And I think, God doesn't forget about those people. He still wants to bring those people back to God. Because I think a lot of the time when we do experience church hurt, it's not God, it's the people. And God's heart is still after those people. He never wanted people to go through those things. That wasn't his will. That was man's will, and God wants to bring them back to him.
A lot of people, they leave a church and they leave hurt, and they often talk about, well, all those hypocrites in the church. Well, there's hypocrites everywhere. There's hypocrites in business. There's hypocrites in your workplace. There's hypocrites in families. It's not just in the church, but I just think it gets magnified because they're expecting something different. They're expecting people to be and act like Jesus did and expects us to do. And it takes really a wholeness in us as well to be able to walk that way. We have to be healed before we can help heal other people. I think that's really important. So we're all in this kind of together. It's really something that we need to work through and walk through. And I like what you were saying, James, is that there are difficulties in the Christian walk. I was also thinking about this as I was getting ready this afternoon. I have more problems now than I did before I was saved, and it's those trials.
I think that's really important too. Like, there's a lot of people in church who haven't experienced hurt, and your experiences of life are based upon what you've been through, so they don't understand people who are hurt. And this is another big part of our message too, is that when you see somebody hurt, the worst thing you can say to them, we're very guilty of this in church, when something goes wrong, we say, well, it's because you didn't have enough faith, it's because you didn't do this, it's because you didn't do that. And it puts the emphasis back on the actual person to say everything bad that happened to you is your fault, because basically you're not a good enough Christian. I struggled for this for a long period of time. When something didn't go my way, or I didn't get what was perceived as a blessing, you end up coming to the conclusion and saying, well, God, I can't be good enough for you because I've done all this stuff for you and this bad stuff keeps happening to me. It's not your fault. What happened? I think that the change in Christian music too has been phenomenal. You've seen lots of artists, because there has been, I call it this plastic fantastic version of Christianity in Christian music that is not real. It's very marketed to reaching, a particular, I guess, category of genre of music to be accepted. But in reality, there is a place for that music, but there's also a place of being real and raw and honest about what you've been through, so people can relate to it. And that's why we love rock music too. You tend to find people in the hard rock address these issues. They address mental health. They address, suicide. They address the struggles, and normalize it. And I think we need to normalize that in the church context as well. Instead of seeing someone walk out the back door in church and go, well, they're out of faith, and they're not. They haven't turned church this week, so therefore they're out of fellowship. To run after the back door and say, are you okay? Can we have a coffee? Can we just sit down and just, sometimes people might need to go outside of the church. So a lot of people have had really negative experiences, and church is not a safe place for them anymore. Right. But the church is in the building. It's not Sunday. We are the church. We are meant to be the arms and legs, the arms and hands of Jesus. We should have the same compassion for him. And sometimes these people might go on a journey, and all they need is somebody to listen to them. They don't need condemnation. They just need somebody to walk the journey with them. And that's another big thing on our heart as well, to remember that.
Well, we're talking about springboards right into your first release, Taking It Back, and that's really got some really deep biblical roots to that song. Can you tell us about what Taking It Back is all about, and even the scripture that it's based on?
Yeah, Taking It Back was deliberately one of the first songs we left, because really it's our anthem of reclaiming back what had been stolen from us. And it's really based on Genesis 50:20. It says, you intended harm for me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many. And the reality is, both Sarah and I actually, through our healing process, came to realize that we suffered significant abuse within the church environment. And that's what this song is about. It's actually recognizing what happened to us. And one of the problems is when you've been, if it's been through spiritual, sexual, emotional, physical abuse, when you're going through it, you don't know it's actually happening to you. And you can't make sense of your world. But after you've gone through the journey, you can look back and you can see what actually happened. This song, it really does, it's a way of claiming back what was stolen from us. There were a lot of years that were stolen from us. There was, I would say, in a lot of cases, the way you end up living life, where you have this lens and how you're viewing life is actually not correct. And when you come to that, given going through calling out, the process of what you've been happened to, and like in the second verse, you spent me like a currency till there was nothing left of me. One of the big issues I had growing up was I'm a musician in church, and musicians are very wanted asset in church. But in a lot of cases, people wanted me for my talent and what I could do, but never wanted me for who I was. There was no relationship there, and you end up getting to the point where you just you feel like you're just being used. But in saying that, you're taking the chorus is very much about taking back the wasted years and taking back and reclaiming what was taking you from the enemy. But it's also the realization what was meant for evil. You can stay in that place of bitterness for a very, very long time, and it's part of the healing process. There was a time where I was so angry for how many years I wasted, and I wish I could go back now in my time machine and redo life. Where could I be? But in the essence, that God now has opened up a door for us to be able to do music and share our message. And we don't want to be number one. We don't want to be the biggest rock band. We just want people to hear our message. And if it's one or two people we can help set on a healing journey to set them free, that's what we're about. And the fact that, we were able to work with Josiah, who really just helped us, bring the song to life. And he's a phenomenal person and very funny guy as well. It's just been an amazing process.
Yeah, this is what you did to me this week with this song. Is I spent the entire week in the book of Genesis in chapter 50, waiting to get to verse 20, and I got there today. And Genesis 50 is not like your Bible promise verse that you're going to find on the refrigerator or written, on a poster somewhere or anything like that. But really, it is. I love it. And the context is Joseph with his brothers when they're afraid that he is going to do evil to them in a form of justice for what they did to him. And what he said to them was, but as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good to bring it to pass as it is this day to save much people alive. And I took that from the King James purposely because the word intended, it sounds kind of harsh. God intended for me to go through all of this, and it's kind of harsh, but that's really not what it means. The Hebrew word for that is kasab, which means to weave like a skilled workman. So all of the things that happened in your life, all the time that you thought that you wasted, God is taking all of that and he's woven that all together for this time for both you and your wife to be able to minister to others. And that is so true for everybody else. Now, here's where it is the Bible promise verse. It's the same thing that we find in Romans chapter 8 at verse 28, where it says, and we know in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
So everything that both of you went through was for this time and for the season. And my goodness, how you have come out of the gate so quickly. Let's go take a look for a moment here. And I'm going to pull up the screen so that everybody can see it. The comments just on taking it back. There we go. That you've received. And I wonder if you even thought that you would get such a reaction like this. And I see one here from Rusty Rich 636. As a former atheist that gave his life to Jesus after suicide, I was separated from my body and he showed me mercy even though I didn't deserve it. This song reminds me to take back everything the enemy tried to take from me and to live with the love of Jesus. And I mean, we got dig the lyrics, love the groove, so good, guys. I got one would need to translate to English. This is awesome. You are both super talented. Is this what you were expecting when you released this song?
I don't know what we were expecting when we released it, really, to be honest. But it's just been amazing. Like those messages where people really share their story, that's what means everything to us and makes it all worth it. It's not about the numbers or how many streams or whatever. When you hear that feedback from someone and you go, oh wow, this really means something to someone and it's really making a difference in their life, that's what it's all about. And there's been messages we've received where we've nearly been in tears because it's just so real, and to know that you're making a difference in someone's life, there's nothing more important than that.
Yeah.
And that comment there by Rusty, he's actually a motorcycle stuntman. So if people go to our Instagram page, every song we've released, he's actually done motorcycle stunts to the actual song.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what he does. He says he uses his motorcycle doing stunts and songs to share the testimony of Jesus as well. So we got to meet some, haven't met in person, but, talk to some really great people that, and I think there's a level of maturity too. As musicians, you're always insecure about, sharing your art and how it'll be accepted. But for us, when we did this recording, we weren't set out, again, as we said, to try and top the charts or anything like that. Our aim was to reach people, that God would use the music to reach the people he wanted to reach through that. And it puts ourselves, because we know what our purpose is, we keep reminding ourselves of that in, the streams and stuff like that. Yeah, it's great when you see numbers going up and stuff like that, but ultimately it's just to reach people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been blessed in a lot of ways in getting out of the gate. You've had the support of a lot of very well-established Christian artists help you to get your music out there and to help you be heard. Can you share with us who you've been working with and how did these divine connections come about?
Well, it was one time after Sarah was talking to somebody, we heard the words that we first ever heard and said, so what's a dream always been to be? And she said, to do music. And they said, so why not? And this might sound silly, but no one has actually ever said, so why not to us, or actually saying, it's always been a lot of cases, oh, God gave you the gift of music to do worship in church. Unless you do that first, you're not going to go anywhere. But, and she said, so why not? So we've been being huge fans of Disciple for 20 plus years now, and I've been particularly following, so when I follow music artists, I don't just listen to music, I look at the whole production side. I've done that. So been following Josiah for a long time. He'd just done, I think at that stage, some of the early Cutlass stuff off the recent EP. And you had the Fireflight, who are one of our favourite bands. And
yes.
so his name just kept popping up everywhere. And I said to Sarah, you know what, let's do it. And so I emailed Josiah and with a couple of demos. And to be honest, we never thought we'd hear anything back. Next day, we had an email from him, and we were pinching ourselves like, is this a scam? And
It's funny because he was happy to meet with us and he liked some of our songs and was like, yeah, let's get together on a Zoom. And we've still just like, nah, this can't really be him. Like, it wasn't until the second that we actually met him on the Zoom call, it was almost like expecting it to be a scam and be someone else. And then we popped up on the screen, we're like, oh my gosh, it's really him.
So we're a little bit starstruck by that, but we started talking about originally doing a single, then it went to an EP, and then we ended up writing 6 new songs.
Yeah.
And it came before album. But the songs we wrote, I mean, there were 3 key ones which we've released now, which we're taking it back, No More, and It's Not Your Fault, where we wanted to. No, sorry, it wasn't No More. It was New Eyes, which is another song on the album. But we started working with him, and like it was phenomenal. Like, you know, he didn't treat us like, oh, you're some band from Australia and some second rate. We got the best. We got the same vocal engineers, the same mastering, mixing engineers that Disciple have. And he just really taught us about the crafts more, and particularly our lyrics, and how to bring them up to scratch. But it was just such a fun process. And within that, you know, the song No More, which is the last one we actually wrote on the album, which is quite an interesting story. I actually wrote the chorus to No More 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I sat down at the piano and I wrote what's now the intro part, and I go, oh, hang on, that part goes with this song. And then the bridge was actually from another song I wrote 4 years ago. And so literally had this song fairly quickly. And then, but the rap part, you know, which Kevin does, Sarah actually wrote that.
Okay.
We're sitting there and she goes, I've got this idea, but it's really weird. And she sat there and literally in 2 minutes just wrote it. And then I tried doing it and trying screaming, and it's hilarious. And when we showed Josiah the song, he's like, man, I love this song. And we said, and we just joked, oh, you know what? It'd be really cool if Kevin could do that. And we just saw it there, and he goes, oh, you want him to do it? Oh, he'll probably do it. And
I can ask him.
We can ask him. We're like,
I'm like, what?
okay. So next thing you know, we've got a song with one of our favorite lead singers recording on it. And look, the Christian rock community is a real community over there, and we've been very blessed to be accepted and be part of that. I don't know if you know Mary Nichols at all.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The publicist for Disciple Night, but Josiah talked to her about us, and she's gone through very similar things as us, and she loves our message. So she's been working for us, you know, to have our song No More shared on the actual Disciple Instagram and Facebook pages was like, we nearly fainted. But these guys are they're really genuine. They're not just about themselves in ministry. They help so many other people as well. And we view also, you know, obviously we had the page Josiah and stuff like that, but we feel as though we're helping them in their ministry by being able to support them as well. Because they're not millionaire rock stars and that as well. But we got to meet them. Dane Allen does backing vocals. He's in the band as well. We got to meet them. We went to our first Disciple show in Jacksonville, and that was just incredible. These doors are just really flung open. But again, it's the heart of these guys too, and it just seems to be very unique, I think, to the Christian rock genre over there. They help each other out, and They're more about, you don't see exorbitant ticket prices for their shows. They're about God, the ministry, and they've got a real heart. And I can absolutely tell you, these guys are what they are on stage. They are 100% off stage as well. And I don't think I have laughed as hard as I have for 2 weeks recording with Josiah. We sort of met each other's match. There was just so many, one day we decided that we would take him and his family out for dinner. So we said, "Oh, we'll shout you dinner," and he didn't know what
Didn't know what that meant.
Because he thought we're going to shout at him and things like that, and just all the funnest in the Australian language we could teach him, and the US language. And I think Bluey is huge over there in America.
Yes, it is. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So his kids were so excited. There was a family coming from Australia that was from like Bluey, and
I almost wore my Bluey T-shirt for this interview today. I do have one. Well, while we're on the topic of U.S. and Australia questions, my co-host Poe, he's got a question, and he wants to know if the blooming onion that we get at the Outback Steakhouse is a original Australian dish. Is that something that you really eat in Australia, or is that just American Australia stuff?
We've never had it before.
Yeah,
Josiah took us there, and we had one there, and then I laughed because I got the Canberra steak. So we live in Canberra. I've never seen a Canberra steak.
What's a Canberra steak? We've never heard of that.
Those onions, that was blooming good.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Oh, they are good. But there you go. That is not native to Australia. It's not like you're going to go outside and pick the blooming onion out of the ground and eat it. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. But on a serious note concerning Australia, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. I'm very familiar with the Christian metal, Christian rock scene here in the community in the United States. What's it like in Australia? Are there a lot of Christian bands in Australia? And then to follow up with that, how does the church in Australia react to Christian rock and Christian metal and things like that? Two questions in one.
Yeah.
So Australia's been very, I guess, sheltered. The more popular Christian music here, I think, same in the US. Your for King and Country is probably more your pop side of things as well. We're excited just because we really think rock music's been starved here, and we've had some really positive feedback to it as well. So when bands like Skillet and that come to Australia, they sell out. It is quite a popular genre, but very much like it's probably not as popular on Christian radio here in Australia. And look, that's fine as well. And why I call ourselves rock, and we got lots of different genres that we're in there. We've always pushed that our music is a vehicle to our testimony, and so at the moment we think we're the only Christian rock band in Australia at this point. There used to be quite a few back in the day, but in terms of churches and stuff like that, we got an album launched a few weeks. We've got a few people in our church who may not like the genre of music, but when you can tell them the story, they can actually say, "Hey, I might not like your music or that style of music, but I appreciate what you're doing in terms of the story and your testimony that you're sharing." And we really purposely make sure that the music is a vehicle to our testimony, and the two go hand in hand. If it's just one without the other, in particular, if it's just the music and we can't share a story, we try to keep an equal balance in that. So we're hoping to change. We hope one day that we can actually bring Disciple to Australia, bring some bands like that as well. And I think it's just reality of what people are exposed to here musically. It's a lot easier to pick up those bands, but we were surprised in our local hometown. Our local Christian radio station's been absolutely fantastic. They've been playing Taking It Back and It's Not Your Fault. And
that's great.
And it's a big thing. For to be, and they want to be supportive of us, but we just got a lot of comments. It's so great to hear Christian rock.
Yeah. That is really neat. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with many Christian rock bands out of Australia at all. We've interviewed several from other countries, but I think this is the first Christian band we've interviewed from Australia on this show. So you're you're first for us, and what an awesome first! I'm just really excited what God's doing for you and hearing your story, how you've come out of several years of brokenness, and feeling things are wasted. And now God is accelerating things for you. You're in a season right now, in a period of acceleration in your life. And may the Lord continue to do that as you continue to walk on that path that he's put you on. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. And until next week, everybody, we will be back. And until then, peace out and rock on.
Lithoscry.com